And so, what are we going to do? Hold on. Oh my gosh, there's so much happening right now.
Should I remind you that you promised?
I did.
You promised this would never, ever happen again.
I did. I promised it would never happen again, and I failed. I failed you. Well, welcome everybody to episode -7 of Beyond the Exchange. See, I've been going higher and higher each time with more ridiculous
I see what
numbers.
you did.
Right. And so I was like, how can I top that? Nobody probably ever in the history of broadcasts, podcasts, any cast has given a negative episode number. Nathan, can you fact check that for me? He did, and it's true.
It is true.
Yeah, it is true. First negative episode count ever. I am Jeremy Smith, founder of Pecan. Yeah, founder of Pecan, nothing more than that. A CEO too. And Brian King, founder and CEO of LODAS Markets, Inc., with two Kansas registered subsidiaries, LODAS Securities LLC and LODAS Transfer LLC.
Because that's what the people care about.
They do. Our corporate structure.
The corporate structure, that's important.
Yeah, and I did mention LODAS Markets, Inc. is a Delaware C Corp.
For now.
Right. I was going to say, and this wasn't going to be the random topic to start, but as soon as I said Delaware C Corp, it made me think, like, see all the hubbub going on about, like, now Delaware, people don't like it anymore. They want to get out. And like Vegas and Texas, or Nevada
and Texas,
and Texas are like do you say Nevada or Nevada? You say Nevada.
Nevada.
Do you say vase or vase?
Depends on the audience.
Okay, because it seems like someone who says Nevada would also say vase.
Probably say vase more than I say vase.
Yeah, it's fun. There's one word that there are a couple, but I never know how I pronounce them. Or I'm not aware of it. Like, people say, how do you pronounce meh? And I'm like, I don't know. I have to say it in like context. So we may have talked about this before. I can't remember. But the nut that is in a pie, the nut starts with a P.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you say it?
Pecan.
Pecan. Okay. And I think I say, it's funny because, again, I'm not 100% sure. I think I say pecan pie.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm just talking about the nut, I think I say pecan. Like, I'd like a pecan. I wouldn't, because I don't like pecans. But see, I said pecan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird that I don't know how I pronounce it, and I pronounce it differently in two different contexts.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of words like that. So my wife, it doesn't matter if it's a pie or if it's just the actual nut. It's pecan. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fairly common for people in the South.
Right.
But pecan is how I say it. But another word that I think that stands out is when you talk about the Caribbean.
Yes.
But it's Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
So there's been times where I've just
true.
Inadvertently said, we're going to the Caribbean.
Right.
And you're like, is that the same place as the Caribbean? It is. But yeah.
It's funny because if we were talking about pecan versus pecan, I was thinking another word I don't know how to pronounce, or how I pronounce, is Caribbean or Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think I usually say Caribbean unless I'm talking about Johnny Depp.
That's right.
And then I say Caribbean.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm way more interesting than I think I realize.
I think you'd be surprised.
Wow. Okay. This is, I guess, negative episodes are like the mean episodes. All right. But you know what's interesting about the whole Delaware C Corp thing, going back to that, is where all of that really started from, or at least picked up a ton of momentum, was when they wouldn't allow Elon Musk to take like an insane compensation package. Right now, like I don't know anything about his compensation package relative to the market, but I do know that was insanely enormous.
$56 billion is not in market.
Is that what it was?
It's like $56 billion.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, they stood up for shareholders, stakeholders, whatever it is. And it's like, and they're getting backlash for it. But I'm like, well, isn't that kind of what you want when something gets so outlandish, right? Like they don't normally like involve themselves in we've never heard from Delaware. Right. And no company I've ever been with has ever heard from Delaware. But it's when something goes, that's why you go for like a law and order place.
Right.
Right. It's to stop that sort of stuff. And so I was kind of surprised that was what would trigger it. trigger it versus something, Elon Musk wanted a free Tesla from Tesla. And so Delaware stepped in and said no. Then I go, okay, that's overreach. I get it.
I mean, I will say though, the shareholders approved his package, but the problem is that nobody anticipated it growing to the size that it did, right? And so he took it from a company that was struggling to a company that just absolutely hit out of the ballpark. But he actually kept himself from getting certain packages and bonuses and all that kind of stuff to be able to reinvest in the company, feed the orphans and the company, so that it could grow at this really ridiculous pattern, which only he believed it could.
Right.
Nobody else believed that it could do anything.
So that's
like
how
that.
it got to that much.
That's how it got to that much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the number was rational from the perspective of what everybody agreed upon.
If you take the numbers out, the approach was rational, and then the numbers just happened to be what they were because of what happened to the company, largely because of his efforts.
And I don't think that there was ever anything that came back from it, though, either. It's not like they said 56. I think it's 56. It's something like that. But 56 is like, that's irrational, but 10 is rational.
Right.
Like, he's got nothing.
Right.
So he went against giving himself anything and still has gotten nothing. I mean,
he wasn't against giving himself anything?
It's not that he didn't get any income. It's just that from a bonus perspective.
From that. But he's instead of coming back and saying, all right, we'll do 20 billion, he just said, forget it.
I think he's trying to fight it, right? I think he's still trying to fight it.
Gotcha.
But,
well, I wish him well.
Yeah. I think he's going to be okay, though.
Yeah.
One way or the other, he's going to be all right.
He will be. But, it's funny because putting it the way you put it, or, explaining it, because I never really dug deeply into it, it's interesting because, I'm putting aside Delaware and kind of, I think they should stand up for something. I actually agree with him, I guess, and maybe the shareholders in that regard, which is if something makes financial sense to do at the time, I don't like when then companies revisit it because it's turned out to be too much. Like one example of that is sales commissions. I'm not a sales guy. I'm usually the one determining the sales commission. And I hate when companies go, okay, our sales guys get 5%. And then, one of the salespeople just crushes it. And they're going to get, $1 million commission or something as a result. And company's like, well, no. We got to, dial it back, or we got to claw some of it back, or, come up with a lower commission structure.
Reorganize their territory.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. If it made sense at the time, then that's it. The numbers don't matter as long as the structure and the logic and the, ethics of it did, then that's it. The numbers just are whatever the numbers end up being. And, good on that guy for being able to crush it such that he got $1 million of commission, with the 5% structure. And, books, royalties, book royalties work the opposite way of most commissions, where the more books you sell, typically the commission or the royalty increases the more books you sell. It doesn't decrease like it does with, typical commissions. So yeah, it's interesting.
That is interesting. Not to get too far off onto the weeds thing, but since we started with the Delaware thing, I think there's another component there is that there are so many lawsuits that are happening in Delaware, and the bigger companies are getting these really outsized legal actions. And I think that that's one of the biggest drivers. So we're a Delaware C, but I don't think we're big enough to where that's going to be a problem. I mean, if we got to the point where we started to get really big, we might say, hey, we should probably readdress where we're incorporated.
You're going to be a Guam B Corp?
Yeah, Guam.
But, it's another thing that's interesting about that is there are a lot of antiquated things that still, exist in the vestigial tales of, time. But one of them is this issue, which is why are companies, in particular national companies, why are they registering with states? Like, why is someone a Delaware anything or a Kansas anything or Texas anything? They should register with the United States of America. You do business, most businesses, most of the businesses that any of us would be talking about, they do business across the country. Why are you registering? Like, why would we, let's say, whatever state, why are we registering with Delaware? Why are we registering with Kansas? We do business all over the country. Lotus does business all over the country. Why register with a single state? And I know you do foreign whatever it's called, entities or whatever with each other state. But why should we register with states at all? We're national businesses, so you should just register with the United States, and now you can do business and you follow those laws. Like the whole state thing is just a vestigial tale. Do you know what vestigial tale is?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I was nodding along, pretending like I did.
Right. Yeah, you can tell from the context, right?
Yeah,
right.
Context.
This is an old, outdated thing. But essentially, it's some people have like a little nub where their tailbone is. And it used to be a tail. Like it comes from the fact that we used to have a tail back there, many evolutionary cycles ago. And some people like still have it, but it has no use or purpose or anything. It just is this remnant from the past that just happens to be left over, but serves no more purpose. So it's a vestigial tale.
I'll try to work that in my next conversation, my next business meeting.
I like it. Yeah, we should do that. We should have a secret bingo game going. Anytime we determine how many of our words in 3 by, I don't know how many words are in a bingo or how many squares in a bingo card, but let's say 30. And I think we should do that. And then we come with 30 words. And then as we use them, we text each other and we just keep our.
We started to talk about on a prior podcast where we had a guest. We talked about the possibility of like having that person like almost like play it forward in the sense that you say the word and we have to fit it in the next.
Do you
podcast.
remember what the last word was?
I don't remember what the last word was.
Oh, well, yeah. And will we use it in the next podcast? Or would you use it with the next guest?
I think it was the next guest.
Okay, so that's good. So we still have an opportunity to. We'll have to go back into the archives in the positive episode numbers.
There we go.
And get that because I remember that now, and that's a fun idea. Did I come up with it? It sounds like something I would come up with. It's fun, lighthearted, handsome. Like it's a good idea. All right, so completely unrelated to any of this, although I'm sure everybody is loving the talk about B Corps and Delaware company registrations and all that, was the initial random topic that was generated. Because I don't have my laptop here, but driving here, I asked ChatGPT, and the topic it came up with, which I don't think I had on the initial like random topics list, but had I thought of it, I would have, which was parenting. Parenting, which is a great topic. I love that topic. So I think that modern parents are the worst.
Full stop.
The absolute worst. And, the reason is, the reason is they're producing the past generation and a half of parents or what have you, producing generations of incompetent narcissists. But where that comes from, people who can't do anything yet feel totally entitled to everything, is because of the trends you've heard, like helicopter parents, bulldozer parents, those sorts of things. So essentially, there's a saying: it is better to prepare something to the extent of it's better to prepare your child for the path than the path for your child, right? Which is a great saying that, again, I probably butchered, but it hits on the message. And, so many years ago, I'd come up with sort of a thesis maybe, or a pattern of like what is happening more broadly or more fundamentally. And really the two types of parents that I'm talking about. One are the modern bad parents, and the other are the old school. They don't have to be old, but old school good parents, where the two types of parenting styles really are outcome-based parenting and feelings-based parenting. And with feelings-based parenting, which is what most modern parents are, your primary concern is your child's happiness. That's what you're optimizing for. And anything that does not optimize for their happiness now is something that's to be avoided. And anything that does make them happy now is to be pursued, right? And it sounds good, or it can sound good to some people, because I want my child to be happy. And there's a difference between wanting your child to be happy and optimizing for that. Because these feelings-based parents, again, because the feeling they're concerned with is happiness, there are many things that make kids feel bad that's good for them. And many things that make kids feel good that's bad for them. I said to my now ex-wife, it wasn't because of this issue, but she just happened. We happened to talk about this when we were married, and our daughter wanted something, and I was like, it's not good for her, so we shouldn't let her do it, even though it's going to make her happy. And I was getting some pushback, and I was like, look, if we gave her the choice, she would eat Lucky Charms every single meal. Every single meal, she would have Lucky Charms. That would make her incredibly happy. So why don't we do that? And it's like, well, because it's terrible for her. And it's like, yes, we don't. So we need to think in the same way, which then leads to outcome-based parenting, where yes, you'd love for your kid to be happy, but that's not your primary concern. Your primary concern is the outcome, meaning what kind of adult is this person going to turn into, right? How will this affect that trajectory of my child becoming a happy, productive, competent, adult.
Yeah.
And when you think that way, then sometimes you do things that make them happy because it's going to be good for them when they grow up. Sometimes you do things that they hate you for, but you do them because it will make them a better adult.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the thing, outcome-based parenting versus feelings-based parenting.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things along those lines is, so many parents don't want their kid to fail.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I don't want my kids to fail.
Right.
But at the same time, the absence of failure does not give you, there's a lot of things.
The absence of learning.
It's absence of learning. Like you can learn from the mistakes that you make, and then those mistakes can fuel you. You don't want your kid to not make the number one team or to get cut and not be on a team.
Right.
Those types of things, but that can fuel you. Right.
That's right.
It's, I look at, Sydney, my youngest daughter, when she was in high school, had a couple of games that were really hard. She's a soccer goalie, and they were really hard. They ended poorly. And I think at the end of the game, she was like, I think almost all the time goalies get the responsibility for a loss, and of course never get responsibility for a win. But there were a couple where she maybe rightly took some ownership because a mistake happened and yada, yada, yada. But that moment was a turning point in her work ethic.
Yeah.
She was I can only motivate you so far to be able to want something and to fight for something and to all that.
Yep.
But for her, that was the turning point of like, I am going to work with everything that I have to never put myself in that moment again.
Yeah.
Right. And so all of a sudden you see this Sid always was a little bit lucky in the sense that she was naturally athletic.
Right.
And so didn't always have to work super hard to do well.
Yeah.
But when all of a sudden you see other kids start to catch up because they're putting in all the extra work, now you're maybe motivated a little bit more to do a little extra work. And so it's amazing when you see somebody that already has natural talent
then
also put in some work and apply. But again, had she not had that quote unquote failure moment, it would have not put her on the trajectory to completely.
And feelings-based parents will do anything and everything they can to have their kids avoid failure because that will make them unhappy.
Right.
They don't think about, make them better. Right. Better now or better as an adult.
To take that situation of Sid specifically, like if we would have said, no, your team failed you.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, then it would make her be like, you guys all.
That's right. I don't need to work harder.
I don't need to work harder. You guys, pick up your game.
Right.
Like,
which by the way reminds me of a comedian who has a podcast I used to listen to, Adam Carolla. He had a great, his New Year's resolution one year was for everyone else to get their together. It's a great New Year's resolution. And he had another thing that he would tell his staff occasionally if they did something like badly, and they every once in a while his staff would be like, well, I tried my best. And he would say to them, don't try your best. Try my best. That's another great one. Yeah, it's a great one. I love. But yeah, that's the thing. Feelings-based parents, they would do anything they can to avoid that experience, even though it's good for their kid, because it makes their kid unhappy. And the dirty little secret about that I'll let everybody in on.
Ooh.
Yeah, you ready? Is feelings-based parents. It on the surface, what it appears to be is that they are primarily concerned with their kids' feelings, right? And thus optimize for happiness. But that's actually not their primary concern. Their primary concern is their own feelings. It makes them sad that their kid is sad. They don't want to be sad.
Right.
So they solve their kid's problem to make their kid happy because it then makes them happy. And so they're actually optimizing for their own happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And they get that by making sure their kid is happy, but it's at the expense of the kid because, as we said, just because it makes you happy doesn't mean it's good for you.
Right.
But they don't care. They just want to be happy. They don't want to feel crappy.
Yeah.
And so they make sure that their kid never feels crappy. And it's why, like with the grades thing, you probably heard, what it used to be that parents, if kids got a bad grade, it was the kid's fault.
Right.
Right. It was, hey, I don't know. Well, you got to buckle down. You got to study. You got to blah, blah, blah. And the kid feels terrible. They got a bad grade. They could feel terrible. They're getting yelled at by their parents. But parents did it because most parents back then were outcome-based parents. And they're like, this will, even though they feel bad and I feel bad, it will make them a better person if they learn to buckle down, to be disciplined, to master this subject, whatever it is. So even though it makes my kid feel bad, it makes me feel bad, it's a better outcome. So we're going to keep on keeping on.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, with most people being feelings-based parents, it's like, my kid feels terrible for the bad grade, which makes me feel terrible for the bad grade. And so, what are we going to do? Hold on. Oh my gosh, there's so much happening right now. Sorry.
Should I remind you that you promised?
I did.
You promised this would never ever happen again.
I did. I promised it would never happen again. And I failed. I failed you as my audience, as my acolytes. Yeah, it's people who like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know acolyte, but you didn't know. You didn't know vestigial tail. Let's see. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift because again, outcome-based parenting is so important. I'm going to shift the blame of this
to your parents.
No,
your parents failed you.
Onto the child who caused it to be. So I'm going to tell everyone whether you should be mad at my son or my daughter because this is their fault. And I promise you, they will be disciplined accordingly. So let's see. Who is doing that? That was my daughter.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Way to go, Reagan.
Yep. So she is going to be sleeping in the driveway for the next week, but not now because that would be feelings-based parenting because it's nice weather outside. I'm going to wait till the winter. Then she sleeps on the driveway for 1 week.
That's right.
Yeah. But usually I turn off my phone and I say, I'm going to the podcast. Don't text me. But I forgot to do that this time because I was running late. So.
The other thing I would say with regard to parenting, I think, so I agree with your philosophy of kind of it's binary between those two styles of parenting. But I also think there's another binary that you could look at, which is I think a lot of parents are driven by what their past was. Yeah. Right. Sometimes they will lean into it. It was an abusive situation, and therefore
they're abusers.
They're abusers too. Or in some cases, they're an abuser, and so they do everything to protect. Right? It's everything is the exact opposite. And so I know that when I look at, it's interesting because Marie and I had fairly different upbringings, but it's funny how in some cases we'll actually come to the same conclusion because one of us is like, I enjoyed this about my childhood, and then she'll be like, well, I didn't like this, and so I'm going to go to this side, or we might have complete opposite opinions, because of different things. But in some cases, it's like you might become overly protective because you weren't protected, or you might say, I had lots of freedom and it worked out great for me, so therefore I want my kids to have all the freedom.
Right, and you don't think about it individually, like your kid's a different person. Is that going to be good for them or bad for them? And
you have situations, I think back in the, people that were of the boomer generation, right? Where they were maybe
free range.
Well, I was going to say that in a lot of cases you had parents, especially fathers, that worked ridiculous amounts of hours, right? And so they were kind of absent. They're still in the family system, but largely absent. And so then you had Gen Xers in many cases who were still driven and working, but
more involved in
their kids' lives. And it's kind of a reaction to, well, my dad wasn't there. And you have some that are like, well, my dad was never there, so I don't need to be there.
Right. Yeah.
But it's still interesting to see how that impact can drive your decision making.
It is. And it's something interesting too, because something you said, it wasn't the focus of what you're saying, but it was part of it. which occasionally my now ex, she would say, well, I didn't like this growing up, so I don't want this for the kids. Or I like this, so I want this for the kids. And I said, the framing you should be using, and she loved whenever, kind of say, here's how you should do things. She loved it.
The age difference allows you to parent her.
No, my ex-wife is a year. She's a year older than me.
Okay, all right. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. She would say, I didn't like this part of my childhood, and or when my parents did this. And I said to her, the thing you should be thinking about isn't did I like it or not like it. You should be thinking about, was this good for me or not good for me? Right? Because again, there are things that you didn't like your parents made you eat your vegetables. No kid likes that. Except one weird kid, Timothy, I've heard of. But outside of Timothy, there's no kid likes to eat their vegetables. But your parents made you because it was good for you.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you look back on it, you didn't like being made to eat your vegetables, but you still should make your kids eat their vegetables because it's good for them. Now, hypocrisies, I don't make my kids eat their vegetables. But I mean, sometimes I do, but probably not as much as I should have. But in fairness, that's because I'm a bad person, not a bad father. Different things, totally different things that do have some overlap in the Venn diagram, but they are different things. But yeah. So anyway, that's my thing on parenting. Oh, and so to put a bow on it, when I was talking about the grades, and so that's what feelings-based parents will do now, right? Their kid gets a bad grade, so they feel bad. The parent feels bad, so now they team up and they yell at the teacher, and they make the teacher give their kid an A- instead of a D, or whatever it was. And great, kid feels better, parent feels better, mission accomplished. Except now your kid is an incompetent narcissist, right? Somebody who can't do anything but thinks they're owed the world, right? And that's what happens with feelings-based parenting. So a message, public service announcement, I guess, to the feelings-based parents out there.
We get one of those, the more you know, with the shooting star.
Yeah, I think we should. Especially because this podcast is technically, that was good. This podcast is technically the property of LODAS Markets. So NBC would sue LODAS Markets, not Pegasus. Right. So I think we should. So my public service announcement to the feelings-based parents out there is it's not too late. You can change your ways. You should change your ways. Unless your kid's like 16 or 17, then it's too late. But if they're not, you can reverse the trend. Become an outcome-based parenting. Care about your kid's future, not your feelings. Do the right thing.
Wow. That got really heavy really fast.
That did.
Yeah.
That did. I know. Did you almost cry?
No.
Oh. Well, not.
I'm not into my feelings.
Neither am I. I'm not a big feelings person. But I think it is good. Now, I will say this one last thing maybe about the parenting and the feelings based is I think it is okay. No, I don't think it's okay. I think it's good if you have one parent who's an outcome based parent and one parent who's a feelings based parent, because you need not 50-50 balance, but you need some offsetting, right? You need to dull the edge a little bit. You need a chaser, I think is what a chaser is. Yeah, I don't drink, but I'm pretty sure from context over the years, I picked it up. Just to dilute it a bit. It's like, okay, maybe letting them eat Starburst for dinner tonight is not good for them. But you know what? It's a Saturday in the summer. It's just going to be fun. Everyone's going to be happy. Just let them do it. Get off your outcome-based parenting high horse and just let them do it because it's going to make them happy. It's like, okay, it's good to have that. So it's an important part of a balanced breakfast. But it has to be like the sausage link, right? Which is just a little part, right? But it's not the main, like the eggs or the pancakes or that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I'm tracking with you. Yeah. Marie would always say, like, why do I always have to be the heavy parent? Like, why do you get to be the one to have fun? I'm like,
just how it is.
How it is.
Yeah.
I get to be the fun parent.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. It is. And, that's another thing related to parenting where, occasionally my now ex-wife or even my current fiance.
Yeah. We haven't talked about
that's
that.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And I wasn't sure if I told you that I got
you told
engaged,
me.
but okay. Yeah. So,
I was there. Remember?
It was very creepy. I didn't even know why you were there, but it did help. So I thank you so much. My ex-wife would say, the kids are kind of, I'm like, oh, I didn't hear that. She didn't tell me. One of the kids didn't tell me that. She's like, well, because they're afraid of you. And I'm like, good. I'm like, every kid should be at least 15%, around 15 to 20% afraid of their dad or one of their parents, but usually it's the dad. But it should be at least fit because that's what helps keep them on the straight and narrow, right? That fear, that, oh man, I'm going to get it. And I don't even mean physical abuse, although I'm not above that. But I just mean the parent who's going to yell at them, maybe spank them, possibly burn them with a cigarette. But they're like a little afraid. You still want them to love you and all that, but that ribbon of fear is an important dynamic.
So for me, I've said this a lot. Like my personality, like I'm usually kind of like this.
Yeah,
right? I'm
boring.
Yes, that's what I was going for. In life, I have shot for being boring, but no, like I don't have a whole lot of highs. I don't have a whole lot of lows. Right. I'm usually kind of this.
Right.
And so, but what's funny is that I don't get mad easy.
Right.
It takes
You don't even use proper grammar, like easily, an adverb rather than easy, an adjective. But yeah, I get it. I get it.
If this table were 6 inches short, I would punch you in the face. But that's a different story. But what's funny is if I raise my voice at all, I mean,
makes a big
even
impact.
in the slightest with my girls, like
right,
angry daddy,
right.
Angry daddy, what? Like just the slightest little bit, but like they're just not accustomed to that.
No, and that's good too. It's good to have that in reserve also for the parent who's the parent they're not afraid of. Is when that parent kind of gets a little angry, they're like, oh boy, right? Because it has that impact. But it's funny because you talking about being even keeled, I think was the word you were going for. And it is one word because it's hyphenated. So everyone get off our butts because I know there were comments just about to come in about it's even keeled's two words. It's one word because it's a hyphen. In any event, sometimes my acolytes infuriate me, but you know what? I'm pushing past it. So you talk about being even keeled. My son, Colin, who's outside right now, he is maybe the most even-keeled kid I know, maybe even adult. He is like, talk about no highs or lows.
He and I will have an even keel off after.
It's like a staring contest. Yeah. And like there was one time I remember, and sometimes it could be disheartening. I don't know what the right word is, but so his favorite team, NBA team, is the Denver Nuggets, and his favorite player is Nikola Jokic. Well, this was years ago. He was probably 10 years old. And 5-6 years ago, I got us tickets to go to the Oklahoma City Thunder game to go see them play the Denver Nuggets. And I was like, this kid is going to lose get ready to bleep it. So I go, Colin, I bought tickets for us for next weekend or whenever it was to go see. And this was the first NBA game we ever were going to see either. And it was with his favorite team. We are going to go see Oklahoma City Thunder go play the Denver Nuggets. And his reaction was, yes. Literally that. It was that loud, that forceful. It was yes. I'm like what? Like if me as a kid, I would have started screaming and jumped and hugged my dad, and I knew he was grateful and happy and all that. But that's just his.
That's funny.
It's his personality. He never gets too high or too low. Like even like bad stuff. He'll be like, oh, that's unfortunate, but blah 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 blah, and he'll usually rationalize. I'm like, That's fantastic, Colin. Yeah, exactly. So it's a double-edged sword.
So I know we're coming up on time, but you mentioned Jokic. And I think one thing that's really hilarious, and I'm sure you've seen it, but you've seen the footage of when they won the championship, and he was kind of like just Jokic was just this like they're like, what are you gonna do? I'm going to go back home and I'm going to have a beer. Like, wow, that's amazing. Like he was just like nothing. And then did you see the footage that came out last week after his horse won a race?
No. Was he losing it?
Lost it.
Oh my God.
He was just like couldn't control his emotions. Right. He's all over the place. So they did a side-by-side comparison of when they were popping the champagne in the locker room versus popping the champagne with the horse.
Right.
Like he could not control his emotions. They're like, how did he have that for his horse? And like he just won the championship, and he's like
that is so funny you say that, because something I was going to say about Colin. One, I've forgotten about Nikola Jokic's reaction to winning the NBA championship. But it was perfect because it's his favorite player, and he has very much the same kind of personality where it's very even keeled. But then, like you said, Jokic, because I hadn't seen what you're saying, he lost his mind because his horse won. Something I was going to say about Colin is, even though he's incredibly evenly keeled, there are these random things in life that just, he loses it. So in the same breath, when I told him, go and see Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic, and he's like, yes. Maybe 3 months later, we went, or maybe it's a year later, I don't know, but we went to see Dude Perfect live.
Oh, yeah.
Perform at the Sprint Center. And they were doing, I don't know why, they do stunts, but in their live shows, they also do things like ranking the top 10 fast food restaurants. And they have these big logos, and they'll put them up, and change your rankings based on, what the main guy believes, and maybe some audience feedback screams and things. And so this guy's like, at number 5, Burger King, or whatever, and he's ranking it. Colin is losing his mind. He is screaming, no, lower, needs to be higher than his. He is losing his mind over the ranking of fast food restaurants. Fast food restaurants. I bought him his first NBA game to see his favorite team, his favorite player, and I get a whisper and a very light fist pump. Yeah, so he does. He has so even keeled, but he had less than a handful of random things.
That's funny. That
are ridiculous, that he loses his mind. So it's funny. Nikola Jokic, same thing. Same thing. All right. Well, boy, it has been a whirlwind episode.
It has
of Beyond the Exchange, where we've talked about things ranging from, what did we start with? Oh, Delaware C Corps, all the way to even keeled personalities.
There we go.
Yeah. So join us next month. And by the way, I think it's the first time I said next month. I think I say next week every single time.
Yep.
But this time I didn't. So join us next month, where we talk about things ranging from rainbows to synesthesia.